Why don't we start with some wins that you guys are experiencing in your practices? So, Garrett or Kevin, you guys want to share some wins that have been happening for you?
Can you hear me now, Dr. Steve?
Yeah, I can hear you, Kevin.
There we go. A win I'd have to say, a parent was telling me that her son was leaving, having a really bad attitude, and then after an adjustment last week, is 180-degree difference between his attitude for the good. She was super excited that her son was able to be more relaxed and more calm and be better throughout the day instead of being a fight the entire time.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. That's what it's all about. Cool. Garrett or Ryan, we're sharing some wins here as we start off and wait for some more callers. You guys want to share some wins that you've been having in practice?
Yeah, I'll have some wins. All four of them today.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice. Congratulations. So that was two separate families or one family?
Two separate families.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Yes, very similar. I think we're not a huge new patient practice, but I think we were 9 for 9 or 10 for 10 new patients in January. So
nice.
That was solid. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're attracting the right people, they want to work with you, right? So very good.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and then I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go ahead and mute you guys. If you have any questions, go ahead and unmute yourselves. I'm going to mute you right now, though, okay? Okay. So I'm going to share my screen here. All right. So, and just give me a nod if you can't see my screen. Or Ryan, can you see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. All right, good. So this month, I was looking over through the questionnaires that I was getting from people and listening to the questions from the weekly office hours calls. And so I heard a lot of talk about day one and day two. And so I wanted to just outline my day one and day two now, and also day zero. And day zero is what I can consider the workshop, that first interaction, and realize this is my day one, day two, day zero. You don't have to do everything exactly like I do. I'm not asking you to be me, but I'll share some things that you might want to bring into your process if it seems like it fits. So tonight we're going to talk a lot about that, but first off, I want to talk about being the specialist, and then workshop budgets, and then dive into that next topic. So the whole purpose of this program is to position ourselves as specialists, right? Chiropractors are specialists. There's no one else that does what we do. And so unfortunately, the public sees us as generalists, and that's why they don't value chiropractic until they understand what it really is, and then they certainly value it and they want it. So we're going to look at, and think about this, and ask yourselves these questions as you're going through your own procedures. This is a really good process to ask yourself as you're going through your processes and your procedures. How does a specialist think? How does a specialist act? Think about different specialists that you've been to over the years, whether maybe it's a dental specialist, or maybe it's a neurosurgeon, or whoever it is, maybe a family member, a parent has been to. And then how does a specialist respond as well? And so as we think of this, how does a specialist think? They know absolutely their extreme value. They don't question how valuable their service is. They know. And unfortunately in medicine, the specialist can be an arrogant ass too, right? We all know those specialists, and see them portrayed on TV. They can be extremely arrogant, not personal, or personable, all these different things. Chiropractors, as we know, are much different. We can be specialists and we can be authentic, we can be humble, we can be all these different things that people really value as well. But we really want to know our extreme value. Okay? And a specialist really believes that they are one of the best. Otherwise they wouldn't be a specialist, right? And so I encourage you to really ask yourselves this question. Do you believe that you are one of the best chiropractors in your area, right? And if you don't feel that way, how can you, what do you need to do to begin to feel that way, to begin to think that way? Most of the time, it's the stuff going on in here. All the stuff all the mental noise, all the baggage, all the judgment, all the things that we all have, including myself. None of us are free of that completely. So it's ask yourself, do you believe you're one of the best? I believe I am one of the best chiropractors on the planet. Now, is it the truth? Some will say yes, some will say no. I think I'm in the top 100 at least. And so what did it take to get there? For me, it took really understanding the philosophy. It took really training and refining the technique, speed, depth, force, all these different things with the technical side of things, and communications, and then getting over my fears, and then also getting the business side of things too, and putting it all together. And the science I ignored for a really long time. And so it's that three-legged stool, the philosophy, science, and art plus communications and plus business. That's where I think it really comes together. Because you could be the best chiropractor in the world, but if you can't communicate the value of what we do to society, then no one's going to show up. And we know a lot of chiropractors out there who are great at what they do. Maybe they're the best chiropractic philosopher, but they have no patience in their practice. So think about, what does it take for you to feel like you're the best? And maybe you need extra training too. Maybe you need to dive into the green books. Maybe you need more science. Whatever it is, figure out what it is for you. And they lead those around them. Okay, a specialist, in your office, this is probably, besides hope, the next thing that people need most is they need a leader, especially when there's chronic health challenges, neurodevelopmental situations. They need you to be a rock, because they have no certainty. They're being pulled all sorts of different directions. They're not sure if they should do this or that. They need a specialist who's going to lead them and be an active participant for them. Sorry, 1 second. I'm adding somebody to the call here, and I always screw this up. So there we go. All right, we got Dr. Marilyn in. Welcome in, Dr. Marilyn. And so be that specialist and make sure you're leading your team, okay, or leading those people. And 1 second here. I'm going to move this off my screen here. There we go. Sorry about that. All right. So this next one, how does a specialist act? This is Dr. Kevin Johnson, who's on the call. He's an associate in my San Diego office. He noticed, man, you really walk fast. I always walk fast anywhere I'm going in the office, because if you want to see a lot of people, then you need to maximize every single step. So specialists walk with speed, determination, and focus. There's no time to, you got to maximize every single second. And people see that, boy, wherever you're walking because you need to take care of something really important, whether it's checking someone for that very first adjustment and giving them their very first adjustment, or going to give that report, or even to send an email out to that person who's contacting you and wants to know more about what you do in your office. A specialist is not fazed by the opinions of others. All right, and this is a big one for chiropractors. This is a huge one that is holding back so many chiropractors, is that they care about what other people think about them. And guess what? So does the rest of the world, right? The rest of the world really cares about what people think about them. But as chiropractors, we don't have the luxury to let that get in the way, for a couple of reasons. One, if we do, then we're always going to be fighting an uphill battle, because guess what? There's a whole lot of people that don't like us or value us and all these sorts of things. There's people that want to see us gone from the face of the planet, right? And so we can't be fazed by the opinions of others, because we have to move forward with this mission and purpose in our communities. And then how does the specialist respond? A specialist doesn't react. A specialist always responds, right? They laugh at the attacks of others. Okay. Now, I went through years of, getting, anytime I got attacked, by someone in the community or maybe someone on Facebook or, all these things, I was thinking, instead of laughing at it, right, I would take it personally. I'd react. I don't know if this has happened to you, but these people, they're trolls. They're out there to steal your energy, to steal your momentum, to steal you away from the things that are most important, which is your practice, your family, and all these people that need you. Okay, so when people attack you, what do we say in the groups? We say delete and ban. Okay, if you get anyone commenting on your ads, if you get the haters out there, just delete and ban. Don't entertain them. Don't give them time of day. Laugh at them and just go on to the next person. And that goes for those in your office too. If you get people, those haters, sitting there in your audience like this, most of the time you'll be able to convert them. Okay. And I've talked about that in other trainings. You'll be able to convert them, but sometimes you can't, and just whatever, just laugh them off. And if they come into your office and it's apparent, and I'm going to talk about that in a second when we go over day 1 and day 2, just smile, laugh about it, joke with them. It's like, yeah, hey, yes, yeah, you know what? I've even heard some people think chiropractors are quacks, right? Just make light of it, because when you laugh at yourself, and you totally diffuse the whole situation. And then a specialist is constantly adapting to their environment, okay? Because they have such extreme focus, such extreme confidence on their home turf, in their practice. This is your home away from home, that if something comes up, you just adapt and you flow with it instead of being stressed by it. Okay, so really, if you're getting stressed out in practice, and if you're taking care of lots of kids, and you're worried about things going a certain way, guess what? It's always going to be changing. You have to just always go with the flow. And if that's a challenge for you, realize it's probably there just so you can work on that and go with what I call a stress-free practice. I tell people this constantly in my practice. They worry like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm 5 minutes late, whatever. Say, it's like, you're late? I didn't know. You just ratted yourself out. I say, here's the thing. I want my practice to be a stress-less practice. Like, the last thing I want is for my practice to be stressful. My life is stressful enough as it is. I want to have fun here, and I don't want it to be stressful for you either. So adopt that sort of mentality with your people too. All right, we just got Jeff joining us as well. Welcome, Jeff. We're just talking about being the specialist. We just went through that. So the training, this recording call will be available in the members only website tomorrow too. I'm going to make sure I put that in there tonight. So let's talk about budgets, because I get this question a lot. So let's talk about how to determine what your budgeting should be for your workshops. So really, we want to understand a couple of things. One is ad momentum. And this is a phenomenon where in the beginning, when we start ads for your campaigns, we have literally 80 to sometimes 100 different ads going at once. And they're going to multiple audiences. They're going to multiple demographics. And we are closely watching who the winners are and who the losers are in those ads. Which ones are performing really great, which ones are not performing well at all. And those are we have automatic rules in place. We have rules that we set up that will turn ads on and off automatically. And then we are actually manually going through every day, multiple times a day, to make sure that the leaders are up there. Here's the thing. So in the first week, first 1 to 5 days or so, that's really there to figure out which ones are going to be the leaders. And then after that, then the ad budget needs to be for the winners. Okay, so if the ad budget is too low, there's not going to be enough left over for the winners. That's why I talk about having a budget of a minimum of $600. I personally do a budget of $700 for my practices. I find, because that $700, and I'll show you why you want to do this too, okay? Because it makes financial sense for you, okay? at $700, I know I don't have to worry about having an audience in front of me. Okay, 90% of the time. There might be some times where the ads just don't take off, and we certainly have those times. We're not 100% across the board, but that's the type of range you want to be in. A minimum of 600, 700 is even better because of the ad momentum. Okay, we want to make sure the winners are getting the most budget towards the last 7 to 10 days of the ad. Okay. The other thing we want to consider then is also workshop topics. Okay, so each of the topics has a perceived value in the mind of the public. Okay, and it's in a ranking. Okay, the neurodevelopmental, the NDD class has the highest perceived need. It feels the biggest perceived need because there's no greater need than helping your sick child get well. Okay, parents will put themselves last, right? They'll put their kids first. So that's going to have the highest registrations. It's going to have the lowest cost per registration. It's going to have typically the highest show rates as well. Okay, the next in line is then the gut-brain connection, typically. Okay, that one still serves a really big need, but now we're talking more about the parents, the adults. Okay, some parents will come to it for their kids, but it's really geared more towards women with fibromyalgia, autoimmune issues, chronic health challenges, things like that. The Mental Health Matters class. Now, the Mental Health Matters class used to be the most tough with the ads. We're actually seeing in the last last month and a half here, we're seeing the Mental Health Matters class actually do really well in several different markets. And keep this in mind, we're always adapting and refining our ads. In fact, we just analyzed, there's 25 doctors in the program now. We just analyzed about 50 different workshops, all the ads, which times of day, which images are doing best, which are struggling, and so we're constantly changing it up, and we have even new images that we're testing this. We're testing one new image this month as well. We don't want to test everything all at once, but we always want to take out the ones that aren't performing well and throw in some new ones. So the class that's having the toughest time right now is the stress workshop. That one is definitely a challenge, and here's the reason why. Everybody is stressed. However, unless they have a chronic health challenge that a diagnosable condition, a big enough pain point, there isn't a big enough call to action for them. We're going to test some different things with it, and we are actually, if you are doing the stress workshop, my company is actually throwing in an additional $250 towards the budget. So say you do a $600 budget, then we're going to throw in $250 of our own money to keep helping refine that program and the ads. So if you want to do that, it's available. But I always want to make sure you guys all know, in terms of the return on investment, where you're going to make the most back from the program is going to be with the neurodevelopmental gut-brain connection right now. Mental Health Matters stress workshop is going to be more of a challenge. Okay, so I want to make sure everybody's aware of that. So when we're talking about return on investment, take a look at why I really believe that it's a good idea to do a budget of $700, and this is why. If we look at this here, on average, with a $500 budget, you're going to see somewhere around 20 to 24 registrations. Okay, with a show rate of approximately 35%, you're going to have 9 people in attendance. That's going to lead to, on average, about 3 to 5 exams, and that's going to be an exam fees of about $450. So it's almost going to pay for the ads themselves. If you have a $700 budget, you're going to see more of in the 40 plus registration range, which means you're going to have somewhere more around 15 people in attendance, and then 5 to 10 exams, which is going to be actually, you're going to be making that money back and some with your ads. Okay, and then you're going to make more on the number of people that you convert. So this is why it's a really good idea, if you're able to, with your cash flow, to have a higher budget to bring more people, and you make the money back on the ads as well. So that's why I do it for my offices, and I encourage you guys to do it for yours. So let's dive into, well, first off, before we do that, any questions? You guys can unmute yourself if you have any questions about any of that. No questions? All right. So let's dive into day 0, day 1, and day 2. So day 0, this is what I call the extra mile. Okay, this is what I am encouraging people to do. Is when you get those registrations, and if you have it set up in Eventbrite to get the email notifications, you or your CA can call or text those people just to say, hey, Mary, just calling. This is Dr. Steve from the Center for Health and Human Potential. Just got your registration for our next Unraveling Neurodevelopmental Disorders class. Just want to let you know how happy and excited we are that you registered for that class. I got to tell you, that class has helped so many kids and families in our community, and we're so glad that you registered for that class. We can't wait to meet you. Simple. You can leave that message, or your staff can leave that message. It's just going the extra mile. It's building rapport, and it helps with the show rates. It helps to increase that. It does take some extra time. It does take some extra resources if your staff is doing that. But that's something that you can add and do to go the extra mile and test it. See how it goes on your next workshop. Make sure that you are doing a text reminder the day before. Okay, so that's always part of the procedure. Now, we are looking at helping to automate that for you guys. Okay, I know Anthony Pellegrino and Philip Rogers, they also have automated a lot in their practices individually. They're already doing that, and we're looking at and working on ways to help to automate that for you guys, for everyone, to strengthen the program even more and take that off of your staff and take that off of you. For now, though, make sure that you are downloading that list from Eventbrite, your registration list. It has the information, their phone numbers, and text them in the morning around 11 a.m. we find is ideal time, the day before. Just saying, and we have the text in the group. I'll put that into the files area for you guys in the Facebook group as well, and just send that text message reminder to get confirmations. That definitely improves the show rates. So the day of. So now you may have a CA at the front. I highly recommend, if you don't have a CA, to hire someone just to come and help with the greeting and also with the scheduling at the end. Okay, if it's not, if you don't have someone, make sure you're doing it. You're at the front. You're greeting people as they walk in. People aren't sure where they are. They're not sure if they're in the right place. The other thing they want to know, everyone wants to know when they walk into any new place, is where's the restroom. So, in our office, we stand up and welcome the person, and we check them in using the Eventbrite app or the Eventbrite website to check them in. And then we let them know that there's water right behind them. Restrooms down the hall on the left, and go ahead and make yourself comfortable. The best seats are in the front. If it's you, doctor, make sure and encourage your staff to walk around the counter to say hello. That goes for new patients. That goes for anyone. It goes such a long distance to do something simple like that. So make sure you're greeting everybody that comes in, and then connect. I'm not going to go through the whole workshop process, but make sure that when you are giving your presentations that you are connecting with the people. If it's a small enough group, you've heard me say this before. I usually do it if it's a max. I'll usually do it if it's up to like 20 people. More than 20, I'm not going to have everyone share their name and why they're there. But I want to look those people in the eye. I want to try to remember their name. I want to empathize with them and the pain that they are experiencing in their lives, and for them to see me seeing them. Okay, so. And this may not always feel comfortable for everyone. This may not be natural for you. If it is, great. If it's not, work on it. Really connect with the people. So then you can talk to them throughout the presentation, bring their names up as well. That goes a long ways. Now, this is huge at the end. You got to be a leader, right? You got to lead them. You got to tell them what you want them to do. This goes, I've gone into the close and other areas, other videos. So many things can destroy the close. Nothing more than being wishy-washy and being afraid, okay, to tell people what they need to do, okay? The biggest killer in the close is the word if. Now, if you'd like to schedule, an appointment, man, it's going to kill your momentum. A leader will never say that. So here's what I want you to do. Go ahead and go up and talk with Mary. Get the appointment scheduled. We have 10 only that we've set aside for tonight. So make sure that you go up and talk to her right away. Right? Be the leader. Give them be that rock and lead them and tell them exactly what you want to do. You'd be surprised. If you watch public speakers all the time, people that are selling things at different seminars and places like that, that's what they do. Say, okay, now everyone stand up and go to the back. And they say exactly what they want you to do. And people get up and they do it because that's what people are trained to do. So be the leader and tell them exactly what you want them to do. And then at the end, be available for all those questions. And this is a time for mini consults. A lot of times people are going to want to tell you more. Sometimes people just want to tell you more. People come up to you, they got tears in their eyes. They want to tell you about, thank you so much. I can't wait. We're going to schedule right now. That's all they want to tell you, right? They're ready. Other people they'll want to kind of feel you out a little bit to see how certain you are. They want to test your certainty. They want to see how they feel based upon your response. Like, oh yeah, my son he's 13, he's 14. Do you think it's too late? Absolutely not, Mary. Right? That's how you respond to that. There can be no hesitation. There can be no lack of certainty. Absolutely. We've seen so many children, just like your son and the challenges that he's been having. We need to find out how we can help. Let's get him scanned. Let's get an appointment so we can find out what's going on. Okay, so that's what they're looking for. They're testing your confidence and your certainty. Look them in the eye and lean in, right? You lean in, and not in an overbearing way, but you lean in and say, absolutely, Mary, we can help your son. Okay, so those are other times it's mini consults too, where people just want to share more, and it's a good time. Unless you have a line of people that are waiting, get more of the consult right then, so that way on day one, you don't have to go as deeply into it. Day one should be more about not so much the consult, it should be more about the exam, okay? So, day one. So you've just had a great day 0, you've scheduled 10 or more new patients, and now the first thing everybody should get is an online intake form. If you don't have online intake forms, make sure you start to employ those. Since you're in this group, you can get access to a copy of the online intake forms that we use in my practice for adult and pediatrics. Just send Jamie a message and she will make you a copy. We use Google Forms. It's super simple. The person fills it out in the comfort of their home, which is huge for anyone having chronic health challenges, and especially pediatrics. The last thing you want is a mom with 2 children, one with autism, one with ADHD or ODD, filling out intake forms in your office. That's a recipe for a complete nightmare. So that's why we have online intake forms. And then you can review them before they come in. So that way you already have a good idea of the case. Look, we're chiropractors. We are not functional medicine doctors. That's the other part of being the specialist, is focusing in on what we do. We don't, yes, we want to know about all those other things, but what we're looking for is to get a understanding of the case, and then to get to our exam procedures and start to take care of it in a chiropractic related way. So get the online intake forms, send those out the day after the workshop so that those people have those as soon as possible. And let's see, I think someone has a question here. One second, let me check in on that.
Oh, it's me, Steve. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I got PDF intake forms.
Okay.
Can those be uploaded somehow so that they can fill them out online? Because right now, the problem I have is they have to save them as a PDF and send them back to me. Like, are your intake forms where they can fill out right away and it automatically sends right to you, or do they have to save those as well?
No, that's the beauty. You know, the ones you have, I've seen yours. Yeah, those can only be, that's hard. Like, honestly, they got to print them out, then they got to take a picture, then they got to email them. The Google Forms is all online. They could do it on their phone, and then it gets emailed directly to you. You know, it's not going to like that's what I love. We just filled out some forms for a specialist that we're seeing for my son and wife, and you know, we had to print it out, and then now we're gonna have to take pictures. Like, that's a pain in the you know what. So I recommend the Google Forms.
Right. So there's no way to somehow upload mine into Google Forms where that's possible, basically.
I don't think so. Yeah, not that I know of.
Okay.
What you could do is, I mean, here's what I would suggest. If you really love your forms and you want to keep the forms, what you could do is we can make a copy of my template, and then you can just edit that template and put in the same questions that your form has and do it that way.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's no way to upload a PDF type thing like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Good question. So we got the online intake forms, and guys, I have this here again. It may sound simple, but you know, I've worked with lots of doctors. I've worked with lots of CAs over the years, and this gets messed up and you know, mauled so many times, just simply greeting people. Okay. How many of you watched Cheers or remember the show Cheers, right? You know, every time Norm walked in to Cheers, the bar, you know, everyone yelled, Norm, right? You know, that's how your office, you don't have to yell that your new patient's new name, but greeting them, making sure your CAs are standing up and greeting them, saying hello. Oh, we're so happy you're here today. Here, let me give you a tour of the office, showing them. You know, now I prefer this, doctor. If you are not busy, if you are free, man, you better get up. If you hear a new patient come in, you better get up and walk out of your office and go up and meet that person. And especially a child, get on your knee and say, hey, welcome. You know, make yourself small. You know, I'm really, I use my hands a lot. I use my body language a lot. You know, make yourself small, like, so you're not intimidating. You know, get on the ground, eye to eye. This is where you're also with a child, you're starting to see how they interact socially. You know, what are they doing? If they're super shy and timid, you're not going to get right up in, hi, you know, welcome, Jimmy, right? You know, just like, hey, how's it going? Welcome. And then more nonchalant kind of way, hey, you want to see my office? Come check this out. You know, it's really kind of aloof, but still there. Whereas if there's a child who's like really chatty and like super engaged, then you can learn more about them, give them a tour of the office. So make sure that you and or your team are really greeting and giving that office tour as soon as people walk in. Number 3, I kind of mentioned this already, being a detective, okay? And that means you are watching and listening to everything, okay? You're watching the body language of the child. You're watching body language of if it's just an individual for their first visit, you're watching their body language. Do they look happy to be there? Do they look sad? Do they look scared? Or what's their body language showing you? And their words. Are they really timid? You know, is there, say, a spouse, and I'll say a husband, because typically the husband who's going to give you any sort of interference, like in the process, potentially, not necessarily. What's going on with the husband? What's his body language? We're looking at all those things, even and throughout the tours. If you can give the tour, right, you should be giving the tour. If you're seeing patients in the moment, and if you have, say, open adjusting, then you say, hey, welcome, I'll be right with you, go back to your thing, right? You should definitely still be saying hello as well. But say, now you're giving the tour, you're just you're watching to see the social interactions of the child. You're watching to see how the parents are interacting with the child. Realize one of the biggest, and I'm talking a lot about children here because a lot of us are seeing kids, right? But this goes for any adult too. Especially with parents. Parents are used to having to try to control their kids' behaviors, right? They're used to the public looking at them like they're horrible parents. They're afraid that their child's going to destroy or break something. So parents on high stress alert. That's the last thing you want, because when people are in stress, they can't hear and listen and learn, right? So you want to you set this tone. Say, hey, welcome. Hey, just so you know, our office is super open. So Johnny can go ahead and go over by the toys here if he wants, or over by the fish tank. I'm just going to kind of watch, observe. Just so you know, I just want you guys to feel super comfortable and just know that there's nothing that he could do here today that would make us upset or anything. Just make them feel super comfortable and safe. They're used to never feeling that way, and so really make that effort. So being that detective, watching and listening to everything, then, once you're ready, see, in our office, we're super flexible. And we also have other associate doctors who can do scans and start the exam process. And here's the other thing. Day 1 and day 2 look very different for someone who's been through a workshop versus someone who is not, right? So someone who has never been to a workshop, who maybe found you through Google, and said, oh yeah, you're close by, so I thought I'd, try you out, right? That's a very different day 1 versus someone who came to a workshop and scheduled an appointment. So we're talking about people who have been through day 0. We're not talking about day 1 people who have never been to one of your workshops. So once they've gone through the process of kind of hanging out and getting acclimated in your practice, because you don't want to take that, if it's a child who's on the spectrum, you don't want to take that child and say, okay, all right, let's go ahead and go on back to the exam room, right? You want to give them time to get acclimated, they need time to transition. And so when it comes to the consult, I prefer to have the child, if we're talking about a child now, I prefer to have the child stay outside, not go into the consult room. Keep the door open, and I'll tell, hey, hey, why don't we go on back? And I'll tell mom and dad, hey, why don't we go back into the exam room? Johnny's cool. He's cool out here. We could just go and hang out and play in the kids area. The staff they'll be watching to make sure that he doesn't, leave or anything like that. And we'll just go ahead and leave the door open. How's that sound? And then let Johnny know too. Remember, you're the leader, so you take the lead. Say, hey, Johnny, hey, mom and dad are, and listen to my voice and my language and even my body language. Hey, we're just going to go over here. I'm using a minimizing tone, right? I'm using a very, numbers. Now, Johnny, we're going to go over here. And hey, we're just going to go over here. My tone goes up, and my body language is super deflective. It's not making a big deal. The door will be open. We'll just be hanging out over here. If you want to come on in, you can if you want. But if you want to hang out with the toys and fish tank, that's cool too. Then, because the last thing I want to do is talk about the child in front of the parents. These kids are used to hearing everything that's wrong with them in front of their parent. Parents are talking about them like they're not even present many times. The specialists are talking about them right in front of them about all the bad things that they do or can't do. And so that's the last thing we want to do. So the parents say, hey, yeah, we'd rather not talk about the child, in front of them. Let's go hang out a bit and chat. Now, here's the situation. It could be one parent, it could be both parents, or maybe we're talking about a woman who came to the gut-brain connection class who has fibromyalgia, right? 3 different situations. If it's one parent, it's typically going to be mom, right? Dad's not there, not because maybe he's working, whatever. So hey, Mary, just welcome back. Hey, before we get started, I just want to check in. What was the biggest takeaway from the class last night or last week? right? Because I want to hear what they got from it. I want to hear, what they got from it and what they're hoping to achieve. They're going to tell you things, oh man, like it was so eye-opening. It was so amazing. I didn't realize the nervous system, they're going to tell you all these different things. Now, if it's both parents there and dad didn't come to a workshop, then I would say, hey, well, hey, John, I just want to know, what did Mary tell you about the workshop the other night? Right, and again, a minimizing tone. It's not invasive. It's not confrontational. Hey, I'm just wondering, what did Mary tell you? And then that's going to give you so many golden nuggets for communications. It's going to tell you where the consult's going to go from there. Because John might say, he might be like this. She just told me that, this might help. I don't see how chiropractic can help. He doesn't have back pain. He might tell you that, right? Which tells you we got to do a whole lot of education. Or he might be super like, oh yeah, man, she was excited. She was telling me about the amazing things that your office has been able to do for so many other kids. And man, I'm excited to find out how you might be able to help Jimmy here, right? Or if it's an individual from a mental health matters or gut brain connection class. So hey, Mary, tell me. So what was your biggest takeaway? And they're going to give you more information so that you can then take the conversation in different directions. One of the other questions you really want to ask now. Here's what I like to tell people. Say, hey, I got the online intake form, so I went through that. I have a really good idea about what's going on here, right? It's letting them know, one, you looked at it. Two, you already have a good idea of what's going on. And then three, but tell me, just tell me a little bit more about like what's been going on. We're not looking for a deep consult here. This conversation, at least in my office, it's 10 minutes. Maybe 15 minutes max. The consult should not be that long, right? You're gonna already have gone through the intake and know which questions to really ask more of, and then ask them questions like, so tell me, hey, in order for this experience to be like just a super successful, experience for you and your family, what would you love to see improve for you and your family? Right? Then they're going to tell you like what like they might, and they're usually going to tell you things like that are easy. They're going to tell you things. Oh, it'd be just so great if you didn't have these sensory processing challenges anymore. Or they're going to tell you their expectations and what they want is typically going to be so much lower than what chiropractic is going to actually bring about in their lives. Okay, so just kind of find out what their expectations are, and that way you can say, oh, you know what, fantastic. We see so many changes, and depending upon your comfort level, but this is that's the thing. And people often ask me this. So what do you typically see, like, and how long does it typically take? That's going to be a question you get a lot of. And I'll tell people this: say when it comes to kids with no developmental challenges. Typically, we see the biggest changes we see are in behavior, socialization, eye contact, sensory processing challenges. We typically see those, by our first progress exam. We do progress exams every 14 visits. We should be seeing some good changes by then, and even in other areas. And then as we continue through the care plan and progress here, we're going to see a lot more changes as that nervous system gets healthier and healthier. So those are all, so that consult, again, we don't want to spend a ton of time there. We're looking to find out just some more details and then also tie them into, into the main purpose of this whole day one is really the exam. They've come to day zero. They've already heard what a subluxation can do. Now they want to find out if their child or if their family is subluxated. Okay, so really focus in on, okay, fantastic. Well, we're going to go ahead and let's get the scans. Like, be excited about the scans. Be excited about the X-ray. Be excited about whatever findings you use or whatever objective measurements you use. Be excited about getting to that. Okay, that should be the whole purpose. Let's get to that as soon as possible so we can find out. That should be, you're building that expectation, that excitement around that. In your exam rooms, super helpful. You should all have nervous system posters, right, and handouts. I use well-adjusted, well-aligned products. Or it's Tony Ebel's company. They have fantastic merit poster, really beautifully designed with great handouts that match that. That's super helpful to have next to your scanning equipment if you're using thermography, surface EMG, HRV, and also in your X-ray area too. So then you can show them, right? When people are talking about the different challenges, and then you do the scans, right? You want to correlate and show them. Say, hey, look, yeah, Johnny's showing he has major interference at C1, C2. Take a look at this area. Your sensory processing challenges, focus issues, depression, sleep issues, right? You want to tie it together so that there's a visual and then a scientific connection as well, mental, emotional, and intellectual connection. So I jumped a little ahead there. The objective measurements, that's where you jump into that. Also posture apps, those are super helpful and really great to see as well. Kevin, I know you're on the call. Let's make sure we jump back into that. That's something that I had not been doing. I think if you're already doing it, guys, stick with it. Seeing the changes in seeing the posture and then seeing the changes in posture, it's super impactful. So it's something you can easily add if you don't already have that. And this is where too, this is a deep communication moment when you're talking about scans. Say that it's not a whole family. Okay, say mom only scheduled for the one child. But they want to know about themselves too. They're interested. They see your scan, they see your process. They're wondering about themselves. And so this is where you'll say things like, this is what I like to do on day one. I will do the scans and then I will briefly go through them. Okay, I'm going to show them briefly, and explain it. Some people wait till day 2. I don't like to do that. I like to show people right then, and then we'll say, we see Johnny has interference here and here and here. And say, and here's the thing, what do you think your scans look like, Mary? You're asking questions like that, like getting people thinking, and they will even say things like that. It's like, oh yeah, mine's probably really bad too. I say, well, here's the thing. We should really find out at some point too. Today's visit's about Johnny. Let's we're going to go through the rest of his scans right now and then get him checked. But let's make sure that we schedule an appointment for you and the rest of the family really soon. Right. So just dropping little, foreshadowing moments like that to really get them thinking about their own scans and the rest of the family. So after you've gone through your scans or your x-rays, whatever it is you're doing there, then going to the physical exam, right? And always telling people what you're going to do next. So when people come into the office, they say, okay, so here's what we're going to do. So in just a little bit, we're going to go into the consult room. We're going to chat a little bit more about what's going on. Then we'll go ahead and do the scans. And then after that, I'll go through them, talk about what it all means. And then we'll go over into the adjusting area, actually check the spine, look for the interferences, and then actually make the adjustments. I do adjustments on day 1. Not everybody does. Here's the thing. You don't have to be me or follow my procedures. You do what feels most comfortable and do it where you feel the most confident. So after the scans, I say, okay, well, here's what we're going to do next. So we're going to go on out to the table. Let's go ahead and get Johnny checked. Out to the table. Here's with a physical exam. I like to have people lay face down first. Okay, I want to check the upper cervical spine first. Okay, I'm a full spine practitioner with an upper cervical focus. So if you are as well, then I would highly recommend having them lay down face first, so you can look at your position, and then have the parent come over or have the spouse come over if there's someone else. If it's an individual by themselves, let them know what you're finding. Say, oh man, your right ear is about a ½ inch lower than your left, right? Have the parent come over, have them stand over the person and look straight down so that they can see the difference, okay? And then palpate that atlas and let them feel it, right? I have the parents feel this or the spouse feel it all the time. You want to make it real for them, right? And then the other thing is, man, if they can feel it, man, imagine all those people, all those doctors they've seen over the years that have missed this, that have completely neglected it, right? So now you're not only are you feeling it, but now they're seeing it and they're feeling it, and it's probably tender. And the child, if it's a child, they probably have sensory processing issues with it. They're squirming as soon as they touch it, right? And then you say, yeah, that's the sensory processing area, right? So it's super sensitive. You know, in an adult, that's going to turn into pain. When there's years of interference, those nerves become irritated. That then turns into pain. For a child, that's more sensitivity, irritability. You're going to see more sensory processing issues. They're going to have trouble concentrating, focusing, because they have all this noise going on in that area. So then palpating the rest of the spine, talking about compensatory patterns, right? So here's the thing, you feel that, let them feel the knots. And many times kids will have all these knots because they've been subluxated for years, right? And that's the other thing, we let them know, say, hey, when there's a subluxation in the upper neck, the body doesn't walk around like this, it does this, right? And it creates these crossing patterns, make one leg shorter and one longer than the other. And it also creates all these compensatory patterns where these muscles get super tight. Feel that right there? Let them feel that and say, here's the thing, that's not a true subluxation. This is the area of interference. It's causing these other areas. And then go back after you've made your adjustment and let them see and feel it again, right? If the ear position isn't majorly changed, don't point that out, right? However, let them feel the muscles, as those muscles, typically those muscles will just be much more state of ease after that adjustment. After you've done the palpation face down, have them turn over. And then if you're doing leg checks, highly recommend leg checks if you're not doing leg checks. Leg checks are a fantastic form of analysis. And even if you're not using the leg checks as an analysis, point out the postural changes. Point out how the person is laying on the table. They think they're straight on the table, yet their body's doing this. Point it out. Point out how one shoulder's higher than the other. Point out how one leg is longer than the other. If you're using leg checks and doing reactive leg checks, say come on over, take a look at this, watch what happens. Say, here's the thing, and this can be hard to explain to people, because they're going to look at each other like, what the hell? Like, what is this, magic, right? They're going to say that a lot of times. And so explain it to them. Say, hey, the body, there's all kinds of reflexes in the body, just like when the doctor hits your knee, that little hammer. Well, guess what? There's reflexes all throughout your spine. As we touch these areas, the body it's releasing that interference. It's allowing the body to get into healthier patterns and make tiny little adjustments all throughout the spine, and so that those legs will even out. Okay, now that's temporary, but what it tells us is with extreme certainty exactly where that interference is and where to make the adjustment. And that's the thing, it's all about specificity. And this is what sets us apart from so many other offices, is that we use very specific adjustments. A lot of offices, guys, I'll tell people, you want people to understand that there's a huge difference in the chiropractic product today. There's offices that are doing more of what's known as the flying seven, where there's very little analysis, and it's not specific, and that's and even let them know. Say, and you may have been to one of those offices where they'll turn your head one way, then the other, then adjust you 3 times down the spine, and then turn you onto one hip and then the other, and adjust both ways. And here's the thing: in our office, we're utilizing very specific procedures and analysis to make sure that we're doing very specific adjusting and know when, where, and when not to make an adjustment. Okay. And just sharing those types of things really increases your specialist status, so they understand that not only you're a specialist as a chiropractor, but now you're a specialist in that you are actually one of the few chiropractors, maybe 20% of the profession today, that's actually providing chiropractic. Okay, so this is a huge, this is why show and tell is so important in the exam process. Okay. So you've done the exam, maybe you've adjusted first visit, maybe you haven't, depending on your procedures. In my office, we do that. And then you let them know what's next, all right? So say it's a child, that just had their first adjustment. I'm gonna tell them, say, all right, so here's what you should expect today. So Johnny just had a fantastic adjustment. Chances are he might be really, really tired. His body's been in major fight or flight. It's going to go into parasympathetic mode. It's going to go into resting, healing, digesting. And so you may see him just get really tired. That means he may be more irritable. Like, right, when we're cranky, I know when I'm tired, I get more cranky. I get more, I have less tolerance for things. You might see that he's just more cranky later today. Or you may see, depending on the age of the child, right? The child may take a nap, or he may go to bed super early tonight and just sleep for a super long time, which they'll usually tell you, oh yeah, he sleeps horribly. Like, that'd be fantastic, right? You help their child sleep. Like, we may not think that's a big deal. For a family whose child's not sleeping, that's a major deal, right? So let them know what to expect next in terms of what they may see with the child or with themselves. So, hey, Mary, we just had a fantastic first adjustment. So here's what I want you to do today. Make sure you drink. I tell people to drink a lot of water and to go to bed earlier. Just make sure you rest. Now, your body's been in major fight or flight. It's going to want to go into resting, healing, digesting. So just make sure you listen in to whatever your body's needs are, so that you get the rest that your body needs tonight. 1 second, adding somebody in here. There we go. There we go. Sorry about that. There we go. All right. So after you let them know, and then with what's next. So here's what I want you to do. Right. Remember, it's about leading people. So use this line a lot. Right. So here's what I'd like you to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to schedule your next appointment. So let's go ahead and walk up to the front, and we're going to schedule your next appointment. I want to see you and let them know the exact day. Okay. So let's see. So today's Tuesday. So let's make sure we see you Thursday, or by Saturday at the latest. Okay. That's what I tell people. I want to see people 2 days later. Typically, I don't want to go anywhere past 4 days, typically, especially after the first adjustment, and then let them know why. So let's make sure we see Johnny on Thursday, because we want to see how he responded to that first visit. Also, that will help tell us more about what it's going to take to make the correction. And also, on that visit, we're going to talk more about we're going to go over the scans again, and we're going to talk about a course of action for correction. Okay, those are the terms I use all the time. I don't have a script per se, but I say the same things all the time, especially things like that. Right? I'd say we're going to go over this. We're going to go over the scans in more detail, and then we're going to talk about a course of action for correction. Right? Course of action for correction is very certain, and it's very it's a defined course, right? It's a path. There's a destination. The destination is correction. All right. I don't know what your promise in your office is. In my office, it's subluxation correction, right? Nervous system, removal of nervous system interference. I'm not promising removal of autism, seizures, things like that. I'm promising correction. Okay. And so we're going to talk about a course of action for correction. Let's go on up. So then you walk the person up to the front desk. If it's you scheduling, then you've scheduled. If it's your CA, hey, Caroline. So we're going to see Johnny on Tuesday, and let's make sure that we're going to go ahead and schedule them for reported findings on that date. And then Mary, I'm so glad you guys were able to come in today. Caroline will take care of you the rest of the way, and we'll see you soon. Right. So pass the baton. Make sure you always are walking people to the front and passing that baton to whoever's scheduling the next day too. So to call or not to call, how many of you guys call after the first visit? Any of you call after the first visit that day? I used to all the time. I haven't in years. Personally, and think back to, remember we talked about, think of what would a specialist do? A specialist doesn't have time to make those types of calls, right? Oftentimes, I feel the message that we're giving people when we call on those visits, yes, they're like, oh, wow, this is so great that the doctor called and he cares about, but subconsciously, we're giving them the idea that maybe they should be worried about something not going right, too. And so I don't recommend calling on that first visit. No other specialist I've ever been to has ever called me on that first visit. I don't think it helps with the specialist status personally. How long should day one be? Day one should be no longer than an hour and 15 minutes. It should be somewhere between 45 minutes to an hour total. That's even with 2 people getting scanned. With families, I don't recommend scanning more than 3 or doing processing more than 3 people at one visit. If it's a family of 4, I recommend splitting it into two different visits as closely as possible, at the same day if possible. That way your report of findings are as close as possible too, because you want to try to get it all very close together. So day 2. So now you've had a great day 0, you had a great day 1, day 2 comes and we're greeting them again, right? And so if possible, you should be greeting them, your CAs of course too, but you should be greeting them at the front there. Hey, welcome back, Mary, so glad you're here. So, and if you're ready for them, take them back right away. Just go over it. If you're not ready for them, let them know. Say, hey, I have a few people to take care of. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable. There's water over there. Make yourself at home, and we'll be right with you. Have your CAs or you, whoever's doing it, should have the scans already ready to go. Make sure you are going over who's coming in the morning. You know exactly who's coming in, what day 2s are going to be there, and so that way. When you're ready, you walk them back, say, hey, come on back. We're going to go over your scans and talk more about your care plan and the recommendations here. So coming back and check in. What is their demeanor like, right? What is their body language? Again, being the detective. Before you were watching and listening, now you're listening and watching. Okay, you're listening for things they say. I want to find out say, hey, Mary, tell me, how did little Joey do after his first visit? And they're going to tell you. If it was someone who came to Mental Health Matters, an adult, you'd say, hey, tell me, so how'd you do after that first visit? Right? Really nonchalant, really just kind of, just really, non-confrontational in any way. They're going to tell you a couple things, right? They're going to say, oh man, Johnny slept through the night. He had his first bowel movement and normally it takes him 5 days. He went 3 times. It's either going to be super positive, right? Or they may say, oh, yeah, I didn't really see a change at all. He's just kind of whatever, didn't really notice much. Or maybe they say, oh, yeah, his behavior was really bad that day. Is that normal, right? And that question will come up many times, maybe not at the first or at day 2, but with children with neurodevelopmental challenges, behavioral challenges, that question will come up often. Somewhere in the first 2 weeks usually, okay? Because it is common to see an increase in behaviors. And this is how I explain it, okay? Here's what I noticed, and this made total sense to me, is that part of when you have nerve interference, when you have lack of awareness, right? Nervous system, especially sensory processing issues, there's lack of full sensory awareness, and it affects cognitive awareness, and chiropractic majorly improves cognitive function and awareness, self-reflection, all those different things. And so if a child has had delays, if a child has had all these different deficits and things impacting their life, now as they're getting clear, they are going to be much more aware of those challenges. Those challenges they're going to have more self-awareness of that, and that's going to cause frustration, which is going to cause behavioral challenges. And so let people know that. Say, sometimes we'll notice that, when kids have as much nervous system interference as Johnny has had, their awareness, their self-awareness is really impacted. And so as we're clearing that nervous system stress, they're more aware of those limitations, and that causes frustration, which will sometimes cause behavioral challenges. That typically lasts only for maybe 2 weeks at most. However, it's super rare that would ever last any longer, and it's actually a good sign that we're clearing the interferences. And then you'll see other good positive signs too. So don't be afraid of those types of questions. When people tell you how great their child's doing or how great they're doing, say, fantastic, that's great. Let's go ahead and go and look at this. Let's go over the scans again, right? You're only asking that question to just kind of see if there's any objections. That's the only real reason. You're not going into, oh, that's so fantastic. What else improved? You're not like, it's, or if they say, oh, not much change, say, yeah, that's super common as we're first getting, clearing the nervous system stress. Let's take a look at the scans, right? You're not going to give it a lot of energy. Like, you're not concerned. That's a specialist want to be concerned. You're not expecting, huge miracles in one visit, right? So your purpose is all about, oops, sorry here, trying to, 1 second. Sorry about that. Put something on my screen and I can't see everything. So 1 second. Okay, so number 4, your purpose is your recommendations. Like, this is the entire purpose of day 2 for someone who's been to day 0. Anyone who's been to day 0, purpose of day 1 is the examination, find out if they're subluxated. Purpose of day 2 is simply your recommendations. This is what a specialist does. Okay, here's my recommendations, all right? So this ROF, though, is going to be different if it's one parent, or if it's both parents, or if it's just the individual, right? So if it's one parent, they've already been to day 0, they've been to day 1, then this is easy, right? There's not much to be concerned about. And if it's both parents, but say the spouse wasn't at day 0 or wasn't at day 1, then you got to back step. It's like doing day 1, a mini day 1 for someone who's never been under care. So hey, tell me again. You want to find out what they know, and then go through, do a mini class. Here's how I would do a mini class, right, for that. So tell me, and then I want to know the next question. I want to know, what do they know about chiropractic? So tell me, so what do you know about chiropractic? Right? They might say, oh yeah, my dad was a chiropractor, or my uncle was a chiropractor. We got it checked throughout my life. It was so great. I rarely get sick. Blah blah blah. Right? Slam dunk. Don't need to do much education there. You might say, oh yeah, I had a workers' comp injury a while back. It kind of helped for my back pain, but I think the chiropractor made me worse. Right? So say, oh, yeah, interesting. So our office is really different. In our office, we're focused on the nervous system. We're focused on the spine because the spine houses that nervous system, right? You have your brain at the top, spinal cord travels down through your spine, and then off of your spine come all these nerves that go to all the different organs, right? And that's when you point to the poster and you grab the handout and say, and you can see here, in this area up here in the upper neck, especially, that's the most important area. That's where the sensory processing areas are. That's the areas that control things like focus, sleep issues, communication, speech, depression, anxiety, right? In this area, this is all, depending upon what challenge their family member has, you're going to focus in on those areas, right? So, and so here's Donnie's scans. So you can see Donnie had major interference. Like, you're not going to pussyfoot around that. You're going to lead, and you're going to, direct that person. You gave him a quick, very quick explanation. The specialist doesn't have time to try to convince people, right? I'll just share a quick story. My good friend, Dr. Scott Garber, busy practice. He has someone in his office who is just this kind of a skeptic. He's not really sure. He's like kind of hemming and hawing at the reported findings. And he's like kind of questioning like whether this is even going to work. And so Dr. Scott just said, hey, John, was it busy out there? Did you notice a lot of people? And he's like, yeah, I was really busy. Like, yeah, if you want this, great, but I don't have time for this. So, that's how Scott addressed it. And that was with, say, someone who came in off of a Google. Right? It's different with day 0. But if it's a dad who's giving you flack, say, hey, John, I totally understand. You have some concerns. Here's the thing. Our office is known for the results that we get. My name, my reputation, and is based upon those results. I don't know if did you notice? Here's the thing: if it's busy, you can use that. If it's not busy at the moment, you could just use just go to your results, go to your certainty, and you got to lead that person. Here's the thing: your son has you look them in the eye. Say, here's the thing: your son has massive interference going on in his upper neck. We know, right? Dramatic pause. We know that when there's interference in this upper area, this is going to cause massive issues with things like sensory processing. List those things, look them in the eye, say, and here's the thing, we help all kinds of kids with these challenges, right? You just got to lead those people in those situations. And make sure you have the nervous system handout. So you hand it to them. Give them something that they can hold and see. So your energy, right? It's this day 2 is and day 1 is all about these different things here too. And I just want to make sure I move something here. 1 second. There we go. All right. So your energy should be really high, right? As a rule of thumb, remember this, your energy always has to be higher than the person in front of you, right? That doesn't mean we blow them out. If it's an amiable person, someone with really low energy, kind of meek, then you're going to bring your energy down. If you're normally super high, you're not going to be lower than their energy, but you're going to be more kind of like this. You know, hey Mary, it's good to see you today. Just tell me, how'd you do, right? Your demeanor should always be super poised. Your body language confident, also laid back too, right? So in my office, you know, I'm kind of, I got my arm on the armrest. I'm just kind of laid back. Like I'm in complete control without being arrogant and without, you know, I don't have to sit across from them, across from the table. I don't have to have my diplomas on the wall, things like that. That's not where this specialist status comes from. It comes from our energy, our demeanor, and also then this last thing is speed. How fast, you know, are you going? If you're taking too much time, if you're talking too much, just remember this: you might want to time yourself. Your close rate, the people that will accept care, will go down inversely related to the amount of time you spend in your reported findings. The more time you spend in your reported findings, the less people that are going to say yes to you. So really, because a specialist doesn't have time, they're going to go through it really quickly without, you know, running through anybody. But make sure that those things you're thinking about those things consciously as you're going through reported findings. Number 7, super important, present the care plan when you have the emotional and intellectual acceptance, okay? This is an art form of knowing when someone is ready to say yes, basically, okay? It means that you've gone through, say, you found out how they did, you found out if there was any objections, right? If they said, oh, you know what, he didn't do so well, is that normal? Like, right, that's a clear indication right there. You need to slay that objection. Oh yeah, it's totally normal, right? You slay that objection. You go through the care plans. You're watching them, right? As you're explaining what's going on in the scans or your findings, you're watching their body language. Are their arms crossed? Are they not turned toward you? Or, you know, what's going on with their body language? Are they saying yes with their body and their eyes? Or are they doubting anything you're saying or not, like, anything like that going on? And then, so once you sense that they are saying, and that's the other thing with the scans. Any questions about the scans at all? Like, and then they might say, "Oh yeah, what was that right there?" Like, that means you have not explained everything properly yet. There's still some objection, right? And so you go back, maybe explain a little bit differently, and then wait. You have to hear from them. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, their body language is showing it. So then this is where you say, so the people in our office, or so the children in our office that are getting the best results are typically we're seeing them twice a week for the first 20 to 24 weeks. Now this is, you got to do this the way you do it, right? This is go back and watch November training where we go deeply into the care plans. You got to develop your own care plans and make sure that, to tell them, so the people are getting the best results. Typically we're seeing, I could say this fast because I've done it so many times. Typically we've seen them anywhere, between 20 to 24 weeks for the first, or seeing them twice a week for the first 20 to 24 weeks. That's the corrective phase of care. After that, we go down to once a week. That's the supportive phase. During that corrective phase, we're every 14 visits, we're doing progress exams. So we're making sure that that person's on track and that we're getting the corrections, removing that interference that we need to see removed on the scans. After that, as I mentioned, we graduate into the supportive phase. We're going down to once a week. We're now helping that body hold and maintain those changes so that becomes the new normal. Simple. Just explained it. Now I pull out my tablet and show them, and I would encourage you to do this. Ryan, you brought this up. We are making a Google template, a Google form template, so you guys can make your own care plans and put it onto a tablet and present it yourselves that way too. I love the tablet. It's not paper. The other thing, and this is just a side note on care plans, I don't like you don't want multiple options. The multiple options confuses people. I have 2 options. Go back and watch the November training so you can look at those 2 main options. Giving people a 3rd option, even to prepay. A couple things with the prepay. In my opinion, the prepay gives them one more option, which is confusing, and also I think it negatively harms the specialist status. Okay, a specialist typically won't be offering prepaid discounts. The other thing is, why do you want to give away more of your money? Why not get the full amount? And because these people are ready to say yes, and they will say yes and they'll just pay you every month. I would much rather have them pay me the bigger amount once a month versus them paying me a lump amount. The other thing with the prepay is that people have a subconscious belief that now you owe them something. Okay, and that I've seen so many ways that the prepay just goes sideways. So just something to consider when it comes to prepays. So once they say yes, you present the care plan. Once they say it emotionally and intellectually that they're ready for that. When you hear yes, so as you go through your care plans, when you hear yes, you get the heck out of that room. Okay, don't keep talking. This is when you say, fantastic, Mary, let's go get started. Fantastic. This is, let's go get Johnny checked, right? And you get out, right? Get out and get to that table, okay? Now, if you hear no, in your mind, a no is never a no, okay? Always act as if, okay? If someone says, I think we need to think about it more. Say, hey, cool. So many people, be quick with it. So many people, make it normal, right? Say so many people, obviously they need to talk to spouses. They need to talk about it some more. Just look at everything. So here's what we do, right? Again, lead, act as if. So here's what we do in the first 2 weeks, as Johnny's under care. Just let us know which care plan makes the most sense for you guys. Our per visit fee is X amount. This is how we do it in my office. Our per visit fee is $77 per visit during those first 2 weeks while you're making a decision. And then just let us know which care plan you'd like to go with. Excuse me. And we'll go ahead and apply whatever you paid towards those first visits towards the first monthly payment. That way you guys still get the savings. Okay. And then let's go on out. Don't do this. So should we check Johnny today? Right? Trust me, I've done it. Right? I did it a lot of times. Don't do that. People will say, no, why don't we wait on that? They won't do it. Okay? Act as if, right? You're giving them subconsciously the way out when you need to lead them. They need this. How badly do they need this? Right? They need it more badly than they have any conscious awareness because they couldn't possibly understand how much chiropractic is going to change their life. They have no conscious awareness of it. So we have to lead them and act as if. Explain the process. So let them know now. Explain what the process looks like when they're going to be coming in for regular visits. So when you come in, Mary will have you guys go ahead and come on back to an available table. If it's, explain your process, what it looks like. We have, in our office, we have these little bins for you to put your stuff in. That way you don't forget anything. So your key, cell phone, everything can go in there. And then just go ahead and lie face down. And then the doctor will be with you in just a moment. Whatever it is, explain your process. And then also explain that on day 3. Have your CA or have yourself explain that again. So that way you're training people to understand what the process looks like in your office. Now, check and adjust or check them. Are the legs closer? Are the ears closer? Hey, oh, fantastic. Check it out. His ears are way closer. Hey, check it out. Look, his legs are way closer. That's fantastic, right? Give people feedback constantly, not just on day 2, on day 3, 4, 5, 6, 70, day 80. Constant feedback. You make an adjustment. Oh, fantastic. You'll hear me now. I didn't originate this, right? I heard this back when I used to go to Parker seminars from like Dr. James Sigafoods and all these other doctors. Every time you give an adjustment, oh, fantastic. That was great. Amazing. Beautiful. You're training people and their consciousness into a healing consciousness when you're doing that, right? So make sure you're doing that. So give parents feedback constantly. Give the person on the table feedback about what you're seeing, and then what's next, right? All right, fantastic adjustment, Mary. Let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to start seeing you twice a week. You know, you just repeat back to them what they've just accepted, what care plan, right? Even if they didn't accept the care plan, you know, go with the recommendation. So we're going to let's see you on Thursday, right? Let's see you on Saturday, whatever it is. Tell them the day that you're going to see them next. Let's go ahead and walk up front. Let's go ahead and get that schedule. Okay. Walk up to the CA, or if it's, you know, to the CA, this is where you're going to pass the baton. Don't miss this step. So, Caroline, Mary decided to go with a family plan. We're going to see her and Jimmy twice a week for the first 24 weeks, and schedule progress exam at that first 14 visit period. They want to come in on Tuesday mornings, or they want to come in the mornings on this day and this day. And they're going to go ahead and go with the family plan, the 100 visit family plan. Okay, it's sharing the exact same thing they just said. Share with that person. So now there's no confusion, right? And now the person doesn't all of a sudden change what they just agreed to, right? So make sure you pass that baton. Here's my care plans. Many of you have already seen this. If you watched the November training, or it might have been December. I think it was December training, where we went into the different care plans. This right here, this is all I have basically. We have some other care plans which are like, and I went into another training, which are some other options. But for people who are having either moderate to severe nervous system interference, and that's going to be the majority of people who come to a workshop, right? Maybe a sibling or might have mild interference, right? There's going to be rare that anyone has mild interference in today's world, especially if they're coming in with severe challenges. They're going to be moderate to severe. So have a care plan, excuse me, for people with moderate to severe, and just give them these options. And be okay if they select, even if you're recommending, like say, I'm recommending my restorative care plan, say, hey, this would be optimal for you. Now this other care plan, we could see really great results. The thing is, it's going to take longer to see those results. And by the time we get to the end of the year, you're still going to be in layers of corrective care versus supportive. Okay. You know, and then just let them choose. When people choose their care plan versus you just making the recommendation, they're going to own it much more intensely. Okay. So let them make the choice. This is the family plans. We make the family plans really simple. I just give people a reference range. I explain to them what everybody needs, right? Our job as doctors is to make the optimal recommendations, and then let people make the choices, and then they're going to go from there, right? And here's the thing. Remember this, right? This is our own money issues and mental issues, right? Because this, and I'm 17 years into practice, and I still got them too, okay? We just had a family start care in our office. Dr. Kevin, who's on the call here, he just started this case. I saw the family before I left. I'm in practice once a month now. So I started the care for this family, for some of the family members. He started the visits for the rest. I think it's a family of like 5 people. And the recommendation was 200 visits, right? In my consciousness, in my mind, my limiting beliefs, I never would have thought that family would have chosen the 200 visit care plan, right? That was my limiting beliefs. And thankfully, I didn't present the care, because what would have happened if I had? I can tell you, they wouldn't have taken 200 visits, okay? Now, because Dr. Kevin didn't have that limitation in his belief system. They went with the 200 visits and are paying $867 per month for a family care plan for the rest of the year, right? So just remember that. It's not fair, and this was my fault. I'm guilty of this. It's not fair to judge in our minds the where people are going to value your role in their life and in their healthcare, right? And remember this, they, especially with people with chronic health challenges, they are paying many, many times over that for doctors and treatments and all sorts of things that are far less valuable and far less effective than the restoration of life through chiropractic adjustment. So remember that, and remember this, guys. This is it right here. If you put this at the forefront of your consciousness, that there's multitudes out there that are seeking what you possess, you will be propelled by the mission. You'll have the energy of the mission, all those that came before you and all those that will come after you, and keep putting yourself in line with this mission, and the rest will follow. So that's what I got for you tonight. I hope it's been helpful. Any questions? Well, go ahead and unmute yourselves if you guys have questions. All right. Well, with that, we'll call it a night. Thanks for
real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I thought it was great, Steve. My only question is, I think Jamie posted in the workshop about the automation type stuff with the workshop.
Mm-hmm.
Has she figured that out yet? Like, do we have something in progress for that so we don't have to do as much, or what's the process on that?
Totally. So we have automations in place that we're working on for the tagging system. Instead of having to email us the CSV files, we're really close to where we will send you a Google sheet because here's what we already have in place. We have I have one Google sheet that shows me every single one of your workshops and all of your registrations. So I know at any moment where all of your workshops are. We also have separate sheets that have all of your registrants, all of their names and information. So what we're going to start doing is giving you that sheet so you don't have to download the Eventbrite sheet. And then you just mark on there whether someone came or not. And so that's what we're working on now. That's almost complete. I will get with her tomorrow, first thing tomorrow, and I'll check in where it's at. And I will ask her to make that a huge priority to get that finalized. The next piece of the automation that we're working on is the text message reminders.
And that's what I was more talking about. Yeah.
So that one's going to take some more time. So we're working on that right now too. I'm thinking that will probably be more like 4 weeks out by the time we can test it and really refine it. We're working with Philip Rogers right now to test that some more, and Anthony Pellegrino's helping out with that too. So I will look to accelerate that process though.
No, that's cool. Just wondering. Cool.
Yep, absolutely, man. Cool. Any other questions?
Good stuff, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. I absolutely love supporting you because I know what great work you guys are doing in your communities, and it tears me up and makes me happy to be able to be associated with such fine individuals. So thank you, guys. Cool. All right, guys. Have a good night. Sleep well, and make sure to share your wins, okay? Take care. Bye.